both of our witnesses for their service to our country in our hemisphere. Our hemisphere has always bragged about having democratic states, and yet in recent decades we've seen a decline of democracy, a decline of countries where they have free and fair elections so that people can have self-determination of their leaders. We see a growth of systemic corruption, as you've all pointed out, which denies the people of that country effective democratic governance. So it really is a critical moment. And I was listening to your response, and I understand that you are collecting information. I know that you are using the different legislative authorities that you have to identify actors for sanctions and to use country activities to express our concerns about the decline of democracy. But I just want to be clear. I mean, the chairman questioned about Cuba, I questioned about many other countries. To me, the sanction that has gotten the most international attention is the Magnitsky sanctions. Other countries around the world have adopted similar regimes that we have to identify individuals for visa bans and for denial of the use of our banking system, which is really critical for those that participate in corruption. They like to travel and they like to hide their money in states that have rule of law. And if we can deny them that opportunity, it really affects their ability to carry out their corrupt regimes. So I think we've got to be very clear about our commitment to use these sanctions. And I must tell you, I have not seen a robust use of the Magnitsky sanctions in our hemisphere. I've seen some, but I haven't seen a robust use. And that statute really anticipates a collaborative effort between Congress and the administration on working together to identify and impose sanctions against those that are committing these types of activities. President Biden's been very clear to identify corruption as the fuel to undemocratic regimes. So can we be more open and robust so that it's a very clear message that those that are participating in corruption, that they're going to be identified by the United States? If we don't have U.S. leadership, there is not going to be leadership in our hemisphere. We've got to take the lead. So I understand there's a due process. I understand you've got to collect information, but we also have to be very clear about our willingness to identify those corrupt actors and impose tough sanctions against them individually so that they cannot benefit from their corruption. Why aren't we being more aggressive in this area?
Senator, thank you for that very important question. And from our standpoint, I think again, the administration has not been leaning back on this. I think they've been leaning forward. But I think we have to recognize that sanctions are part of a kit that we can use to go after, to not just go after those who are committing corrupt acts, but we have to look at other tools that we can use. Support for democratic institutions, making sure that we are...
I agree with you. I agree with you that we need to have the programs in place to support democracy and democratic institutions, and I strongly support those partnerships through the State Department. I agree with you. But you also have to, it's got to be a carrot stick. Do you know how many Magnitsky sanctions have been imposed in our hemisphere in the last 12 months?
I don't off the top of my head now.
I think we're over 40, I think.
And how many are now under consideration?
I can't tell you how many are currently under consideration, but we look to aggressively deploy them across all of the areas where we see problems. And as you alluded to, Senator, a key part of that is bringing along international partners. So when we're able to enlist the European Union or Canada or the UK to also apply sanctions, to secure supportive resolutions in multilateral organizations. That all increases the pressure on the authoritarian and criminal regimes in our hemisphere.
I just conclude on this, and I would ask for a commitment that you work with our staffs, with us as this committee, on the list that you're working on and the countries in which you're working on, because it's our impression that we could be more direct and visible on the use of these sanctions to make it clear that America's leadership is there. I understand we want to work with other countries, but it's critical that the United States takes the lead. And I would just ask your commitment that you would work with us and our staffs as we identify countries and individuals that we believe need to be considered for these types of sanctions.
Absolutely, Senator.
Absolutely.
Thank you.